Okay. So basically now we are going through block 2, which concentrates on HR management. So planning aspect to some extent we covered. Now we are going into management aspect. So from the first unit point of view, it actually mixes some amount of planning and also management. So it's just not about management. So it starts with management, but in between somehow it again goes back to the planning. So there is some amount of repetition that happens, which was covered in block 1, but anyway, we'll go through them. Right. So to start with, like any other unit, it starts with the definition of it. So what exactly this human resource management is all about, right? It's about you have a lot of people in the organization. Managing those particular people, which is called as human resource, is what is human resource management. Why it is required? Obviously, you have like people are one the pillars for the organization. So effective management of them is going to allow organization to meet their particular goal in a better way. So both planning and management of these human resources are something which is critical to any organization. So, and when we are talking about humans, and when we are especially talking about the scenario like an organization or a team where we are talking about a huge group of individuals, managing is something very, very necessary. So the effective management is going to actually drive uh, drive people towards the goal of the organization, right? So there is one of the famous quote which is mentioned by which was told by Ronald Reagan. So which is like emphasizing how critical is the people to the organization. So what he told is, surround you with the best people you can find, delegate authority and don't interfere. Basically what he was saying is, get the best out of best people and just give the authority to them, and you just relax. It'll automatically go in the right way, right? So that is the importance of people as far as the organization is concerned. So HRM, what all it emphasizes on? It emphasizes on employees as an asset. So it is mainly the employees which are the emphasis here, right? And it talks about taking this in the strategic way. We talked about that particular thing, strategic human resource management, as the topic in the block 1. So the entire approach is taken in a very strategic way, right? And the commitment towards this is going to actually drive a lot as far as the objectives of the organizations are concerned, right? So and obviously people are required to be developed. I mean, basically their skills needs to be developed, they need to be motivated, their commitment needs to be increased, they need to be satisfied. All those essentials which are in and around employees are what HRM is going to cover. What are the essential functions of HRM? If you remember, there are some essential functions that we covered during management, what generally manager really require, right? So it is a little bit in and around that, but very, very much orient towards the human resources. First is planning, second is acquisition. Basically, this is the recruitment that it is talking about. The third is utilization. Fourth is maintenance and sustenance. And fifth is exiting, basically retirement or retrenchment and etc. etc. So these are the high level functions or essential functions of HR manager. Okay. What is the role of manager? So HR manager is, uh, I mean, in lot many ways, it is situational. It depends on the intervention and other things that you would be working on. But more or less, it is like it's a independent functional area which is going to concentrate on human resources, right? So he needs to have like sensitivity, empathy, helpfulness, etc., etc., because the highlighting part here, as far as the HR manager is concerned, human resource, right? So sensitivity, empathy, and all those things are required. Okay, so that's about the role of a HR manager. Now we are going into aims of HR management. Okay, what is the aim of HR management? It is like you should be able to utilize people to their full extent. Okay, so you have people, utilizing them to the full extent is something which is an important. Okay, and the policies needs to be integrated with the cultural aspects of the people. Okay, so you need to actually take care of various cultures and all those stuff. Okay, and you need to actually create an environment which is going to help them to work with the whatever the energy, motivation, and all those stuff. Okay, so you need to promote innovation. You need to actually display that the excellence and flexibility and all those stuff. So these are all the aims of human resource management. What is the need for human resource management, right? So we are talking about organizations which are continuously changing. So whatever the things that we talked about, even though it appears very simple or straightforward, with the changing environment, these are all very complex things, right? So it is not easy to actually maintain the motivation of the employee and still actually meeting the organizational objectives. So it's like you require a special head who could probably think on those particular lines and implement, right? So technology is continuously changing. You might really require to develop people from various angles. You need to find right people. You need to actually more you require workforce who is going to actually have those values and go towards whatever the organization goals are, right? And the demography is quite challenging and changing. So for all these reasons you require HRM. Okay. So there is one thing, basically one statement which needs to be remembered here. Again, this falls under why exactly HRM is needed. So HRM is not something. It's not it's an opportunity, not a threat. What it means is opportunity means we are talking about doing this particular part of managing the resources, etc., proactively, or rather with pleasure. Threat means you are actually seeing them as like, oh yeah, I need to do this, hence I am doing it. No, not exactly like that. So basically it is like you are enhancing the skills, enhancing the overall job satisfaction of the employees, etc., etc. All those aspects are something that you are thinking as the value add that you are actually bringing to the organization, rather than okay, yes, these are must, hence I am doing it, I have no choice, right? Threat means you are thinking as like, oh yeah, I need to handle because I have no choice. Opportunity means you are thinking from the point of view of a positive stuff. Okay, so that is what it is all about. Okay, so threat and opportunity. Okay, so now coming to levers. Basically, so there are multiple levers these HR managers use, and one of the most powerful lever that they use is are these line managers, and so they actually HR managers and line managers together form a very powerful base to actually implement any change, right? So HRM strategy. So there are some of the important points as far as the overall HRM strategy is concerned. One is organization. Okay, so basically HRM, these are like, you can say that these are the terms which are going to be repeated in multiple places when we are going to talk about functions of HRM, or what are the skills of HRM, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the terms. Organization, so basically it talks about the structuring of the organization. It talks about the culture of the, cultural management. Okay, change management, flexibility, team working. I'm not explaining these terms because I'm expecting these terms are very self-evident. Okay, so team working, resourcing. Resource means you're actually providing required skills to those particular projects and other stuff. Human resource development. Okay, so this is like training and development of people. Performance management. You're trying to actually manage their goals and rewards and all those stuff. Reward management. Employee relation. Okay, so basically you are improving the relationships among the employees. Okay, and there are two major functions as far as the entire the thing is concerned. Okay, so the function one is there are two major functions, which is like planning. So in fact, it's not just two functions. There are multiple functions which HRM really provides. One is planning. So obviously they plan things. Okay, so if you broadly divide, it is planning and managing. But if you actually further divide, it is like multiple major functions that they do. First is planning. Second is organizing. Okay, so basically organizing here means it is not like organizing an event. Rather, you are placing things for the people so that they can actually do things, right? Like job design. So you are designing certain things, defining the roles and all those stuff, so that tasks can be done or carried out by the people. Staffing. So the staffing term is evident. Directing. So this is also something very evident. You are showing direction to the people. You are controlling, and then there are operative functions like be it compensation or maintaining relationship, employee development, etc., etc. There are multiple operative functions, right? So employment, job analysis, HR planning, recruitment, selection, placement, induction and orientation, like new employees you are going to induct it. So these are broadly the functions of HRM. Okay, so what are the, I mean, now coming to HR development. So we are talking about development aspect, which is nothing but training and development, right? So, so, so before even training and development, it talks about overall development from the career of the employee. That means you're going to actually check their particular goals, you're going to reward them accordingly, you're going to promote them. All those aspects comes under human resource development, overall development of their career or their skills or whatever it is. So there are two parts to it. One is compensation. So here what you are actually doing, you are evaluating how they are performing, and appropriately you are compensating them, right? And the second one is human relations. Okay, so here we are actually talking about making sure that humans are, they integrate well, they work together as a team. So these are necessary skills for them to actually achieve something as a team, right? So these are the two aspects that are covering under human resource development. So human resource development is overall development. The next is objectives of HRM. So there are multiple objectives of HRM. One is societal objectives. So basically, as name says, this is something that needs to be done for the society, right? All the social responsibility objectives. Second is organizational objectives. Okay, here we are talking about very specific to organization. Next, functional objectives. This is related to the unit or a division that you belong to or a team that you belong to. That is functional objectives. Personal objectives. This is your self-own objectives. So these are the four kind of objectives that a human resource management would have. Okay. So now going into the next part, which is again coming into planning side of things, right? So there are actually it again goes into planning part, where we are talking about what exactly is the requirement for a company, identifying what kind of skills that you require, how many people are required. So you do forecasting, etc., etc., and based on that you recruit, right? This is the planning. We went through that in block 1 in detail. So there are two types of planning that is there. One is hard HR planning. Okay, so hard HR planning is about, this is quantitative way of making sure that you get right number of people. You get right number of people with right skills. So this is more of the hard HR planning. There is a soft HR planning, right? So not only you matching the skill and number, you are also making sure that you are getting people with right attitude, right motivation, who could actually have right values. So those soft skills is what is soft HR planning. Okay, so So in some cases, once the people are engaged, there are a lot of programs that would actually people do to train on these particular attitudes. Not only that, even in the recruitment process, there are certain exercises organization do to make sure that these parts are in place, so that they get right employees, even from the soft skills point of view. Okay. So these and obviously we know how important it is to actually get people with right attitude. In fact, more than hard planning, soft planning plays a very important role to take. I mean, to go towards the organization goals. Okay, so there are certain limitation of human resource planning. Okay, so I mean, we went through those particular limitations in the chapter one. It is like future prediction is not so robust, situations change rapidly, etc., etc. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. I think there is a half of the unit which in block one talks about the limitations and all those stuff. Okay, so now we are going into the next part, which is aims of human resource planning. Okay, so so there is one more section in between, which is instance and rational for human resource planning, which is again talking about the same what you say disadvantages of it. Hence I am not taking through it. Basically the practice very vague as far as prediction of future is concerned. People doesn't have a lot of trust on it, etc., etc., right? So skipping to the next one. So in this chapter this section is not important. In block one these sections becomes important. So so it is much more elaborated in block one, hence I am not going through here. Okay, so now going into human aims of human resource planning. Okay, what are the aims? You need to meet those particular skill deficit. You need to actually retain employees whatever that are required with the skills, or you need to actually train certain employees who could probably be trained. And also you should actually depend on the external recruitment and all those stuff, get new skills into the thing. So these are some of the aims of human resource planning. The process of human resource planning: first is business strategy plan, and then you actually, based on business strategy, you draw out resourcing strategy, and then you actually do a scenario planning. So how exactly you are going to what is the environment currently outside, right? And then you see demand and supply based on forecasting. Okay, and then you actually I mean, so so then you would actually see what exactly is required by doing the turnover analysis. Turnover analysis is nothing but you are checking your attrition, you are checking your demand, etc., etc., and making sure that you have like correct supply meeting the demand, right? And then work environment analysis. Okay, so it is like you are analyzing the work environment which people are going to work, and what exactly you are going to provide once you recruit people. So these are some of the processes which are there in human resource planning. So now we are going into the actual block related section. Okay, until now, first it started with HRM, and then it went into planning somehow. I don't know, there is a lot of repetition as far as the planning is concerned. I think one question which is important from the planning point of view is soft HR planning and hard HR planning and aims of HR planning. Okay, this is something which is going to be important as far as the HR planning is. Aims, hard and soft HR planning. Okay, now we are going into the crux of this particular unit, which is management. Okay, so and as usual, it starts with what exactly is the management, right? So being responsible for the attainment of objectives. So there is an objective and you are being responsible to meet that particular objective. Okay, and so within the organization you would, I mean, you probably take the responsibility of certain tasks and make sure that you do it, right? That is what is the management at a very high level definition. Okay, it is sometimes also referred to administration. So looks like there is a very close as far as the meaning is concerned, very much similar. Okay, there is a clear overlap between these two terms. So I think we don't have to ponder much on what is the difference between administration and management as such. Okay, so now we are going into the process of management. Okay, so it is not a separate function, right? It is there at all levels. You manage team, you manage unit, you manage organization, you manage HR functions, etc., etc. It is there everywhere. Okay, so this is like a universal thing which is required at all levels. Okay. So obviously the managers are governed by policies. So these policies are the ones which will actually, give them what they should do and what they should not do and those kind of things, right? And these policies are generally done at the board or directors level. So basically leadership is the one which comes with this particular policy, which managers would actually be, adhering to those, right? And in general, management is I mean, everybody knows what is management, but having a conclusive definition of what is management is tricky. Okay, so that is what it is. So coming to the what are the common activities of managers. So here there are multiple scientists who actually talked about what exactly management is, what exactly they are supposed to do. Okay, so one of those who is famous is Fayol. Okay, looks like he gave a lot of management fundas, and he came up with like six group of activities which manager, I mean, or in the industrial setup that manager is going to do, or rather, uh, these are the group activities. Basically, under this you can have many. Technical, which means more on production. Commercial, which is more on buying and selling and those kind of things. Financial, it is more on managing the capital, I mean funds and all those stuff. Okay, and then security, so safeguarding, accounting, making sure you actually maintain balance sheet, and administration management, so basically managerial. So these seems to be the six groups that Fayol talked about. And there are five elements that Fayol talked about that a management is going to have. One, planning, organizing, command, coordination, and control. If you remember, we have actually read this in OD as well. So these are the five things that a manager would actually do: planning, organizing, command, coordination, and control. I don't think we require any explanation on these terms, right? So next goes to principles of management. So this is again Fayol who came up with 14 principles. So he came with six groups, five elements, 14 principles. He gave a lot of pointers for us and headache for us to remember in our exam. Okay, so so he came up with 14 principles. Principle one, division of work. Okay, so basically, if you remember, there is in the top we talked about these division, organizing, etc., right? So the division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command. So unity of command is nothing but, so basically a particular employee should not receive should not be having two bosses. One should not say that go left, the other should not say go right. Then employee would be confused, doesn't do anything. So basically you should receive only from one boss. Fifth, unity of direction. So basically organization should also not tell two things which are contradictory, right? To the group, they should have one plan. As a team they should have one plan. At the organization level they should have one plan. So it should not have like multiple directions. And next, subordination of individual interest to general interest. Okay, so basically, I mean, it looks very complex, but nothing but you should actually keep organization first rather than your own goals. Okay, so remuneration of personal. So it is like remuneration, centralization. You should have that particular centralized control. Scalar chain. You should have hierarchy of authorities. Okay, and then order. Okay, so basically there is a material order which talks about you should have like you should avoid any physical loss of any equipment or whatever it is. Okay, so social order is like people are in place. First is equipment is in place, Next is people are in place. Whatever that they are supposed to do is what they are doing. They are in order. Okay. And then equity. Okay. So this is like equality. Okay. Next is stability of tenure of personnel. So it is like you require people who are stable. Then only organization would actually prosper. Initiative. So you should have that initiative strength. People should have that energy to start with. That is what is the initiative. April D Corps looks very complex, but it is talking about unity of employees. Okay, harmony and unity. This is what Fayol talked. So looks like he wants to talk a lot. Hence, he gave a lot of principles, a lot of elements, and then group activities. And Fayol seems to be an important person for us to remember. Okay, from the exam point of view. Next is bridge. He also wants to tell that I am also there. Hence, he also gave some fundas. So, but he seems to be considerate on us. So instead of 5 elements, he only told 4 elements. Okay, which is nothing different from whatever Fayol told. Fayol had 5 elements, right? First is planning, next is organizing. So here there is no organizing. Okay, so instead of that, this guy told control, okay, coordination and motivation. So he told in a different way, but these are the 4 things that he told. Should planning, control, coordination, and motivation. I don't have to explain these according to me. Uh, Next is one more guy, Drucker. Okay, so he also came and he also gave some objectives, or I mean operations that a manager should do. Okay, so he told that there are 3 tasks which a management guy should do, and all of those 3 tasks are important. One is fulfilling. Okay, so there is a purpose that they are in, they should actually do that particular purpose, fulfill it, right? So, and then they need to make sure that they make work productive. Okay, and the second thing is they should have a social impact and social responsibilities. These are the key tasks that he told that manager should have, and all the 3 are important. Fulfilling their responsibility, improving the productivity of the workers. Third is the social impact or the social responsibility. Okay, and he gave 5 operations that manager is going to do. One is set objectives, organizes, motivates, measures, develops people. Okay, so this is what Drucker told. Okay, there is some other people, Steward. Fortunately, he just came up with the definition, no objectives or operations or whatever it is. Okay, deciding what should be done and then getting other people to do it. That is what is management, is what he told. Right. So first task would be obviously planning the things. Okay, and then setting up the organization. Second task is to actually motivate and make sure that people go towards it. Okay, and people are developed so that that plan can be done, or you know can be met. So that is what Stewart told. Okay, now we are going into the next one, management in public and private sector. So obviously, public sector has got a lot of I mean different ways of thinking. They actually deal with the public rather than any private customers. Okay, so they need to think from the point of view of community when they are actually doing the surveys, right? I mean, the scale is different. They are going to offer, they are going to work in like huge amount of people, right? They will have a different political pressure. So obviously, if there is a manager who is like district head, you can say that collector, on top of it, some MLA, MP might be poking him, right? So he might have a lot of pressure in fulfilling those local governments. Okay, and a lot of trade unions comes into picture. If you want to do anything, if you remove somebody, the trade union will actually start coming into picture. So there are a lot of things there. Okay, and there is actually even I mean the performance is very very tricky to be measured. So it is very very tricky. Okay, so Okay, so again, I'm just going through that management in private and public sectors. So there are a lot of differences as far as the private and public sectors are concerned. So in public sector, there is varied set of people that are involved. Okay, and the scale itself is very, very huge and complex as far as the scale is concerned. There is a lot of political pressure. So a collector might be under pressure from a local MP. So he managing things is going to be very, very tricky. So there is a lot of political powers which might be controlling things, right? And there is a high level involvement of trade unions. Anything that happens to a government employee, it becomes a big news, right? So it is very difficult to measure their performance. Okay, not everything in the government sector can be made visible. It cannot be transparent. Okay, so some parts needs to be I mean, we can't really expose certain things, right? That creates a lot of complexity. And there are like obvious problems that are there. Both public and private sectors does face these particular problems. That is like efficiency related problem or effectiveness of a certain things. Okay, clarification of aims and objectives, right? Design of suitable structures. Okay, so all these, like whatever the functions that they do, there could be a general problem which is associated with it. Okay, now comes another guy which is born. Okay, so he talked about management again. The analysis of management. Okay, so he said that management is like set of interrelated activities, and he listed those particular activities. Right, definition of the problem that needs to be solved. That means you need to define the objective. Okay, and then you need to search for the solution. Okay, and you need to have determination of the best. Okay, and you need to, I mean, obviously you need to come to an agreement. Okay, and you need preparation and issue of instructions to for carrying out the agreed solution. So basically you need to know how to execute it. Okay, and then auditing process. So you should have the audits to solve certain problems. Okay, and design and introduction and maintenance of organizational structure with a lot of activities and design and maintaining those particular things. Right, selection, training, development, management of appropriate staff, all these things would also come into picture. So this is what Bond told about management. Okay, so this ends unit 1.
Are we doing unit 2 as well, Praveen? I can't hear anyone.
Hey, sorry, can you pause? I don't know why mine went into mute. Can you pause the recording so we can probably uh, do unit 2 in another 10 minutes?
Okay.
Make a call and then join. You need to stop recording.